When thinking about the connection of an artist and their fans and how they interact, we actually see this really interesting evolution over the last couple of decades of how that interaction was going and changing. So if you started with like the 70s, my mom, for example, had her records on vinyl and she would listen to them and then write down the lyrics by hand, and then she would maybe dress up like her favorite artist even though she didn't really know what they looked like, put some posters on the wall. Then if we think about my youth, we had CDs, we had at some point music videos on YouTube or MTV, and we would look at these videos and maybe replicate the dance moves or something like that. And fast forward to now, where we see social media and the new generation, Gen Z, coming in and seeing how the artist lives their life every day, if the artist is sharing Instagram stories or TikToks of their daily life. So it's just a much more intimate connection because they can have a much deeper look into that artist's life. If you take that a step forward, we're already seeing some co-creation, so the fan attending a concert or shooting their own content of the artist, so their own video in the style of the artist's music video, their own dance in the style of the artist's dance. And taking that a step further, the new generation Alpha really wants to be a co-creator in the way that they want to be a part of the environment, the artist's world. They want to go into that world and then change something, leave their own mark. The new world-building platforms that we have out there, it's really cool to see how that connection is evolving and maybe bringing the artist and the fan even closer to a more intimate level of connecting. I'm Alica Molito. I'm the CIO and co-founder of Xone, which is a company that develops a mobile application that enables anyone to make 3D worlds and environments on their phone in a couple minutes. We can recreate an artist's environment, so an artist's world, be it a music video, be it a venue, a studio, and we can bring that into the 3D world where fans can make their own avatars and explore. There's a little bit of a gamification element as well, so something we've done with Xone, for example, was kind of a scavenger hunt where we worked with an artist called Easy Life, and they have a really cool album artwork for their last release, which is kind of a Wes Anderson-inspired house, and we built that in 3D. So then their fans would come in, make their own avatars, very diverse crowd. It was really cool to see those in there. And then they could explore the house, and every room was associated with a different song that they had recorded. So the audio was kind of looping in the background, and there would be different furniture items. And it was cool because the house on the album artwork was just the front, and the fans didn't know how it would look from the inside. So we kind of imagined that. And then when the fans were done exploring, they could take the furniture that they had seen in there and collect that in this little scavenger hunt. And every week a new room would unlock, a new song would be playing. And at the end of the whole experience, there was a performance from these avatars that was actually recorded from the real band with motion capture and then brought into the metaverse world. That was exciting to see. And then in the next step, the fans had a builder contest where they had a little room that was in the style of the house. So it had like the windows from the Easy Life house, and it had the wallpaper, kind of a retro flower print. And then they could put the furniture items, but also other things in there. So then we had all of these creations from the fans that had the band's creative in there, but then also a bunch of other stuff that the fan was passionate about, like a coffee machine or a lava lamp, just whatever would actually make them themselves. They kind of get three things that I think every artist is trying to achieve. So one is creating a very meaningful experience, a special experience that maybe nobody else is doing, and maybe while another artist is just shooting music videos, they can create a 3D world or a mini game. The second thing would be obviously monetization. So it's very easy to monetize via NFT sales, ticket sales. And then the third thing is connecting with their fans in a very personalized manner. So if you think about having different tiers of tickets, those could be tied to different types of 3D environments, like a really nice club, like an outside environment, depending on the level of fandom, so be it a super fan or like a normal fan. I kind of view it as a continuum of the social media evolution. So if you think about the first social media that we all were probably using was Facebook, and it made everybody able to publish something in a couple seconds. So you type something down, and there you go. And then comes Instagram, and everybody becomes almost a photographer. So everybody can easily take a picture, put a filter on. Wow, this looks really professional with that frame. If you remember the first Instagram post, they looked horrible. And then comes, Reddit, where everybody can make a forum without having to know how to build a website. And after that comes TikTok, where everybody's a video creator. Those things really empowered those new generations to express themselves in a different format. So now, next step, building something that is as easy to use as those social media networks were in their respective topics, but making it an immersive format. And I don't think that any of the apps and platforms out there have really done that yet, because what blockchain and 3D is complex topics. That doesn't mean that we as product leads and creators can just say, oh, it's so complicated, so I don't have to make my app easy. This is actually our problem, not the user problem. So this is where I think the future will get really exciting, when those things, so building a world, building a game, is actually easy. So anybody, like little kids, can just do it in a couple seconds, just like the social media platforms did it. In terms of how that would look like, I'm hoping that anybody will, instead of having a profile or instead of having like several apps, maybe anybody has a room or a house, and that is the center of their digital identity, and they can equip it, they can play their favorite music, they can display anything they care about, proof of attendance, posters, tickets, whatever it might be. And we can go a step further and we can make it something surreal, so you can have a flying car or a bunch of grass in your living room. And if you pull in live data from other sources, like whatever you stream, your fitness watch data, then it becomes this really dynamic, living, breathing product that you don't always have to manually update. Those things are complex to build, and it has been taking time, but we've put into place some user-friendly things already. So one big thing for us was to build a mobile app, so mobile first. Second thing we did was we implemented a drag and drop builder. So it's almost like The Sims, where you have that scrollable menu and then you just take something and you put it down. So then what we did there was bringing in a user profile and followers, so that people could really connect with their friends and their communities in the way that they're used to right now, and in this concept that has been working so well for the last couple of years. I think the discovery aspect is also more user-friendly. So you have a feed, you can just scroll through a bunch of stuff. You can easily go in, you'll be in the environment with your avatar, and it's pretty intuitive. So of course, there's a ton of iterations to make, but I think we're getting there. When building with the Web3 backend, what you see right now is that there's a lot of services, companies, DAOs that are building really, really amazing products on the back end and in terms of functionality, but a lot of times the front end is just not very intuitive. So at Xone, we've chosen the approach of going almost front end first, so making it easy for the user to do anything, and for Web3 to just work in the back end, so in the background. And I think in the ideal case, it can almost be for a lot of users that they don't even know they have a wallet, they don't even know there's a seed phrase, and it's all decentralized, because a lot of the users who are onboarding right now don't really care about that so much. They're even skeptical about it. What we're trying to do is to really just tie these things in and giving the users these benefits for whenever they're ready for them, they can claim, their wallet or use those Web3 features. But until then, it's really just running, and they don't need to know how it's working, and they are just pressing the button to make a couch. And if that makes an NFT in the background, the user mostly doesn't care. It's also a balance, because obviously perfect decentralization and perfect user-friendliness are at the moment kind of at odds with each other. So the product we're hoping to build will basically look very much like a social media platform. So you have the followers, you have the 3D immersive content instead of photo and video content. On the back end, in the ideal case, profile's an NFT, the environment's another NFT inside of that, and then the items inside the room, so say my couch, my plant, are chained to that again. So it's kind of this long infrastructure of NFT tech, which can be really beneficial for when transferring something like that, when selling it, when trying to gate it. And it can also be really interesting when an artist or a creator is trying to address their community. I'm hoping that the way that artists and fans connect can just become so special and so intimate in the future that it feels almost like they're actually friends, they actually know each other. And I'm curious if we get there and when we get there.